Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for being here as always, and we are going to be rebooting this Head-Canon-y series, although we are going to start doing viewer requests, as it were, and of course there would be a plane flying over. Stick around to the end of the video if you're curious as to why I'm just sitting here filming in my car, as opposed to sitting in my office at home with all my nice Star Wars-y backgrounds and all that kind of stuff, and with much better lighting, because, well... not sure what you guys have heard, but about a quarter of the United States is on fire right now. So it's quite, it's not cloudy, it's, hazy everywhere, here in southern Wisconsin. Thanks, Jetstream. But, yeah, I was trepidatious on restarting this series, in this manner because... there's already an amazing podcast. Go check it out, Force Center Podcast. I'll leave a link to one of their podcast feed down below. I think they use Podomatic, but you can use that Podomatic page to navigate to whichever podcatcher that you use. And Joseph Scrimshaw there does an amazing job doing basically exactly the same thing, dealing with people's complaints about Star Wars. They're little things that they just kind of get a little hung up on. And I want to keep doing that with this Head-Canon show, but he covers a much broader spectrum of things. I'm going to concentrate on just in-universe things that have in-universe explanations, because I don't know how much you guys know this about me, but my sense of disbelief is broken. Once I'm consuming a piece of fiction, I can pretty much justify anything if I want to. Or even if I can't find a way to justify it, it's just because the movie said so, or because the book said so. So I tweeted something out saying, thinking of rebooting the Head-Canon series on the YouTube channel. What's one gripe you have with Star Wars' logic, plot holes, and the like? We're going to go with at Local First Order, all remaining systems. A lot of the conspiracy plotlines in the prequels don't make much sense to me. Many of them should be obvious for the Jedi to figure out. Excuse me. For example, the Jedi should know something is up when the template for their clone army was directly working for the CIS during Geonosis. I'm sorry, I just had McDonald's for lunch. But very good question. Thank you very much, all remaining systems, for submitting that. We're going to concentrate on just that, because there's a lot of, like, things, like all the conspiracies in the prequels. That's a problem that you have across the prequels in general. All the conspiracy plot lines and plot threads that were picked up and dropped and picked up again and then dropped again and thrown into a fire and whatever. The bottom line is that the prequel story was way too... big to fit into 3 films, and George didn't realize that. But he was locked into only doing 3 episodes, doing the prequel trilogy, which is why the Clone Wars show was so incredible, because it expanded that so much more. But that aside, there are out of universe reasons why so many of those plot lines are wildly all over the place as to whether or not they're resolved or not. And I'm just going to concentrate on that singular example that all remaining systems used, and that is, why didn't the Jedi realize something was up when the template for their clone army was a guy who was working for the CIS? Inside of universe explanations only here on Head-Canon, the way I see it, and the way that I explain it to myself at least, is that magical little word, or magical little term, independent contractor. You have these third parties, right? You have a couple of different third parties. You have the 2 parties. You have party number 1 being the Republic and the Jedi, party number 2 being the CIS. The third parties involved in this transaction regarding Jango Fett and the clone army is the Kaminoans and Jango Fett himself. So say that you need a house built, and you hire on a chief electrician, the Kaminoans, to wire up your house. that electrician then uses some of the money that you're paying him to bring in his own advisor, Jango Fett, or her own advisor. And then this advisor goes to that asshole from high school who, you know, was your absolute worst enemy and you still hate their guts, and goes and does their electricity too, advises on that person's electricity too. You're not going to necessarily blame the chief electrician that hired on that person, if that makes sense. It's all about independent contractors, and it's all about the fact that maybe it didn't raise too much of a red flag with Jango working for the CIS, simply because he's not just an independent contractor. He's not an independent contractor even working for the Republic. He's an independent contractor working for the Kaminoans by basically, you know, existing and giving them his DNA. And that's it. Now, I know that there are tons of other different plot lines in the prequels that just completely defy any sort of logic. But that's at least the way I explain Jango for me. There are whole other different issues that we could dive into. Things like, why did they just say, okay, cool, neat, we found a clone army, no idea who ordered it, but it's ours, we're gonna take it and go? That was questionable decision making on the Jedi's part. And was there like just not an investigation into how and why Dooku fell? Like, if you think that Dooku's the grand mastermind behind the CIS and he's a Sith Lord, you know he's a Sith Lord, why didn't you investigate as to why he became a Sith Lord? I'm confused. But that's not necessarily for this video. That's for whenever somebody asks that question. But either way, I really hope that that at least helps you with that one singular little plot hole inside of the prequels. I'm sure that there are many more. So with all of that being said, let's go ahead. I just want to update you guys as to why I missed last week's video and why the Twitch streams and the YouTube streams have been kind of irregular. Long story short, without getting too big into detail, I'm swamped right now just with personal life stuff. Nothing bad or anything like that, just I got voluntold into a new project at work that requires me to work 6 9-hour shifts a week. And also my brother just got, my younger brother just got his first, you know, adult grown-up job. He doesn't have a car yet, so I'm having to give him rides to work. Fortunately, he works about the same shift as me and works very near where I'm working. So that's a thing, but I have to give him rides until he gets a car in about a month or so. The wedding is October 13th. Still trying to get set up with Star Wars Celebration, trying to get the house ready for probably hosting at least a couple of people who are going to be in out of town for the wedding. Yeah, I'm very tired, and sometimes I just don't have the energy to make videos or to stream or whatever. But I will endeavor to keep pushing through. You guys are so supportive. Even if I don't post a video for 2 weeks, I know that there are those wonderful people out there watching the same video that are going to be there for every single video I post and there for every single stream I put up on Twitch or YouTube. So thank you guys so much for that support, and I promise you I will do everything I can to keep up with content over these next 2.5 months until this schedule evens out, this new work schedule evens out for a little bit, and ends up reverting back to my original work schedule of 4 10-hour shifts. Just wanted to give you guys that quick update and to thank you guys for the support as always. But anyways, enough of my ramblings. Thank you guys so much, and as always, may the Force be with you guys. Take care.